Together we'll chant Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, verses 31 to 40.
Just 1 second, I'll jump setting it.
झषाणां मकरश्चास्मि स्रोतसामस्मि जानवी सर्गाणामादिरन्तश्च मध्यं चैवाहमर्जुन अध्यात्मविद्या विद्यानाम् अदः प्रवदतामहम् अक्षराणामकारोऽस्मि द्वन्द्वः सामासिकस्य च अहमेवाक्षयः कालः धाताहं विश्वतो मुखः मृत्युः सर्वहरश्चाहम् उद्भवश्च भविष्यताम् कीर्तिः श्रीर्वाक्च नारीणाम् स्मृतिर्मेधा धृतिः क्षमा बृहत्साम तथा साम्नाम् गायत्री छन्दसामहम् मासानां मार्गशीर्षोऽहम् ऋतूनां कुसुमाकरः द्यूतं चलयतामस्मि तेजस्तेजस्विनामहम् जयोऽस्मि व्यवसायोऽस्मि सत्त्वं सत्त्ववतामहम् वृष्णीनां वासुदेवोऽस्मि पाण्डवानां धनञ्जयः मुनीनामप्यहं व्यासः कवीनामुशना कविः दण्डो दमयतामस्मि नीतिरस्मि जिगीषताम् मौनं चैवास्मि गुह्यानाम् ज्ञानं ज्ञानवतामहम् यच्चापि सर्वभूतानां बीजं तदहमर्जुन न तदस्ति विना यस्यात् मया भूतं चराचरम् नान्तोऽस्मि मम दिव्यानाम् विभूतीनां परन्तप एष तूद्देशतः प्रोक्तः विभूतेर्विस्तरो मया
मैं पानी आता है।
Last time we were doing the 36th verse, which showed absolute objectivity. Can you be so objective in life that your equipment and another person's equipment mean exactly the same to you? No difference. This is the height of objectivity, where you're able to just see something for what it is. You have no pride nor modesty. As Samuel Johnson says in his letter, neither pride nor modesty. Oh. This is exhibited by the fact that in this verse, in the 37th verse, he says, Vrishinam Vasudevosmi. Among the Vrishnis, I am Vasudeva, I am Krishna. Among the Pandavas, I am Dhananjaya, I am Arjuna among the warriors, among the Pandavas. Muninam, among the Munis, I am Vyasa. And among the Kavis means seers. A very interesting usage in Sanskrit where a Kavi is a person who's wise and he speaks a language we don't understand. So he speaks in poetry, as it were. So he's called a Kavi. It means a seer, somebody who's wiser. In translated into English, it means poet, of course. But all traditional wisdom writings were in poetry. So therefore, they were all known as Kavis. So among the Kavis, among the wise, I am Ushana Kavi. Ushana Kavi is the guru of the the Daityas, of the wicked people, of the Rakshasas and Asuras. Interesting, no? How can anybody be so objective? When he's saying the best, he's saying the best. So all of this covers whatever is here, okay? So we have our hero, Krishna. We have his counterpart, Arjuna. We have the author of the book. And we have also, very interestingly, the guru of the wicked people. So it's interesting. You can take it as, what are these wicked people? Ushana is the best among them because those guys fight the devas, right? So it's all a very interesting thing. Even amongst the enemies, he's able to say, I am the best of those. Objectivity. That is what this verse is about. That is what Vedanta is about. Objectivity. Objectivity means not involving any subjective influences. Can you imagine? You just see what is there, no more, no less. So objectivity is the capacity of the intellect to see what is there. How simple and how difficult. On that one thing is dependent the quality of human being's life. Because the more objective you are, the more successful you are, the more cheerful you are, the more, sensible you are. I don't know what to call it. Everything comes from objectivity. So this is a verse, very interesting verse showing Krishna's objectivity or Vyasa's objectivity, whichever one you wish to use. I hope you all are familiar with Vyasa, right? Ved Vyasa is called Ved Vyasa because he divided the Vedas. This story goes that all the Vedas were one massive collection and then he made it into 4. Besides that, he also is credited with having written the Brahma Sutras, the Mahabharata. He's also written the Puranas, ending with the Bhagavad Purana. 18 Puranas he has written. He was such a prolific author and he has written so much that it is impossible for us to even conceive this. And because he was so so unbelievable in his works and he has done so much of it, we worship him on his birthday, which is
Guru Purnima.
Guru Purnima. We celebrate him. This country has been celebrating him and his endeavors for the last, God alone knows how many years in in on the day of Guru Purnima. And in worshipping him, we worship all the gurus, because that lineage has been maintained by everybody who has taught those books, maintained those books, etc. All right, so that's the greatness of Vyasa. His name is not Vyasa, his name is Krishna Dvaipayana. He's also known as Krishna, and he's called Dvaipayana because he was born on a dvipa, on an island. So I guess you know all a lot about Vyasa now. So shall we go to verse 38? Anything further you have on this verse? Anyone has a question? Go to verse 38. Dando damayatam nitirasmi jigishatam maunam chaivasmi guyanam jnanam jnanavatamaham dando damayatam nitirasmi jigishatam maunam chaivasmi guyanam jnanam jnanavatamaham. Please excuse me for a second. Apologies. So, dando dharmayatamasmi. Danda is that, sort of rod-like thing, a scepter that that a king carries. It is a symbol of his authority. If you have that, then you are supposed to, it's a symbol, like this is the symbol of authority. So among the rulers, I am the scepter. Meaning what? A ruler is a ruler only if he has the power, right? So I don't know if you're familiar with the history of Maharashtra, but at one time, Shivaji was the ruler and all the power rested with Shivaji. Isn't it? And then over a period of time, who became the rulers? What happened? Maharashtra history? We are in Maharashtra.
Peshwas.
The Peshwas became the ruler. Very good. Who were the Peshwas? They were more like a prime minister. So all the power came to them. So, but there was a Chhatrapati still, there was a so-called ruler still, but there was no power with him. Or if you take a more modern day example, the Rashtrapati, our president, is the head of the nation, right? But the power rests with the prime minister. Unlike America, where the power rests with the president himself, or the queen. The power in the UK rests with the prime minister, not with the queen. So, what makes a ruler is the fact that he has that power. He's not a ruler, he's a rubber stamp. So, amongst rulers, he's talking about what is that which makes you a ruler? It is the power that you wield. So, I am Danda, I am that scepter. That, I don't know if you've seen that rod which they carry. And among the rulers, I am the scepter. The other one is very nice. Niti Rasmi Jigishatam. Jigishatam means जीतने की इच्छा जो रखता है, amongst those who wish to be victorious. Jigishatam. What am I amongst those who wish to be victorious? What could you say? You could say skill, you could say strategy, you could say bravery, you could say courage, you could say so many things, right? If you want victory, what is it that you think you require? What Krishna says you require is niti. Niti means righteousness, means ethics, means the right way of behavior, the way to conduct yourself in this world. There's a very beautiful book in Sanskrit called Niti Shatakam, where Niti is taught. Niti is it's how do you behave properly in this world. Maybe one day we can do Niti Shatakam. It's really a beautiful.
Janki ji? What is it called, Janki ji? The name of the book again?
Niti Shatakam.
Thank you.
100 verses on Niti.
Thank you.
So when the university comes, we're definitely including it in our curriculum. Because it's so important for us to understand some basic facts, Even like simple books, the very simple books that were originally taught in our syllabus. Our syllabus means ancient India's syllabus. Sorry. They were Panchatantra, Niti Shatakam. These were the important foundation, like basic sort of stuff that you should know. Now in Vedanta, we have to include the basic stuff, but in traditional education, once you come to Vedanta, the assumption is all of this has been cleared already. You already know all this. But today, Vedanta classes, if we just did Vedanta, it would just go over everybody's head. It would make no sense because none of the background books have been studied. And it's impossible, right? So suppose you say I'm running a class on Vedanta and then people say, okay, I'd like to learn Vedanta. And then you go back and you study Panchatantra. They'll say, why are you teaching me children's books? I came to study Vedanta. But actually in the traditional system, which hopefully we will be able to accomplish sometime, is a lot of stuff is done before you are connected with this subject. The subject was supposed to be like the peak of it all, the top. Only the smartest, the best, the noblest came to this kind of subject. So now just think what he is saying over here, this statement that he is making over here, for us is like we have to study what this statement is. But for Arjuna, he already knows this as a fact. Since he knows this as a fact, Krishna is saying that I am this and that. He already knows it. Like suppose I say I am Amitabh Bachchan in Bollywood. You already know this. The unknown part is the I am. So he's communicating the I am. But you already know that Amitabh, what is Amitabh in what? In Bollywood. You already know that. So similarly, Arjuna already knows this. And that's why he's such a great, victorious person. Jigishitam means those who wish for victory. Very important because this is what Arjuna wants right now, right? He wants the victory. And you and I also want the victory. We want to be victorious. Of course, we are not fighting wars or anything, but what do we want to be victorious over? Whatever challenges we are facing. We don't have wars to fight. We are not those Kshatriyas of that time, but we have our own challenges. And to gain victory over that, what is it that will be required? He says, Niti Rasmi Jigishatam. I am Niti amongst those who wish to gain victory, who wish to win over the battle of life. I am Niti. Niti means It's translated as righteousness. It's a rather old word. Nobody uses the word righteousness very much nowadays. So it's lost its, what should I say, punch. Nobody says, what do you want to be? Nobody says, I want to be righteous. It's lost its punch. So let's replace that word and say ethics. But even better than ethics is just correct and proper behavior. Your behavior is ethical when you understand the facts of life. How can it not be? Imagine this, okay? Imagine that there is a situation where the traffic lights have stopped working. Everybody can rush. If everybody rushes in, what is the consequence? The consequence is nobody moves. But I've actually experienced this in a city like Delhi. The traffic lights were non-operational, and then there was a four-way sort of crossroad, and then in that crossroad, it's like, some cars would go and then voluntarily stop. Then from the other side, cars would go, voluntarily stop. Then the next, and there was no interruption in the flow of traffic. It's an amazing thought, what a miracle this is. Now, people who do that understand a fundamental fact, which is that if we don't all stay in our lanes, we don't stay disciplined, nobody's going to move. So as you understand more and more facts of life, you understand the interrelatedness of the whole thing. There's a beautiful documentary on Discovery, where they showed how in the park they removed the wolves. Have you seen this documentary? From the park, from one of those massive parks in America, they removed all the wolves. And then what would happen after that? Then the deer grew so much, and then the vegetation became nothing. So at one point, they reintroduced the wolves into that park again. Now the wolves kept the number of the deer down. Because the number of the deer was down, overgrazing was stopped, of the grass, and overgrazing was stopped. So then the soil erosion reduced because, the roots of the grass hold the soil together. And all these changes, and the rivers changed their courses. Can you even imagine this? And we say, oh, we don't like wolves, just remove them. No, you can't. Because there's so much interconnectedness of this whole thing. The whole thing is interconnected. We can't do it like that. So as you understand the facts of life, that what is in my genuine welfare is in your genuine welfare. There is no competition between us. What is in your welfare is in my welfare. There is no competition at all. And the more we can rejoice in each other's growth and prosperity, and anything that anybody has is good, the better it is for all of us. Suppose Manoj tells us that I am winning the best CA award. Won't we be happy for him? And it's good for us, right? We say, oh, how wonderful, somebody from our classes has got the best CA award. Or Bharat tells us that I have finally been able to pick up 200 kgs or whatever horrible figure that is that he picks up. Bharat can do that. Somebody from our class can do that. So when you have that feeling of identification, you understand the facts of life, you just can't help but have, when you understand the facts of life, you can't but have
objectivity.
I'm going to vacuum name.
Niti,
Righteousness.
Who said Niti?
Mitali.
Mitali. See, Mitali knows this because she has been doing Niti. She started an amazing NGO and she's been doing amazing work. Now, won't we feel delighted that somebody from our class has done so much good work? She has created out of nothing, literally, a whole institution taking care of the education of children who have got no access to that. So just amazing, isn't it? If you understand the facts of life, the result is you will always have
Righteousness.
niti, correct, righteousness. If you understood the facts of life, how can you not have victory? So if you choose, if you're a jigishi means one who's interested in जो जीतने में की इच्छा रखता है, that's jigishi. So he who wishes to win must know the facts of life. But is knowing the facts of life enough? No, it's not. You can stay in bed and know the facts of life. What you need to do is then have correct behavior. What is the use of saying, I know every fact? Let us see some behavior. When that behavior is correct, you gain victory. One hopes that you have studied the facts of life in such a way that you've actually understood them, in which case the natural outcome will be right behavior. So if for those desirous of victory, I am niti, that ability of correct behavior. Maunam chaivasmi guhyanam. Guhyanam, among secrets. What am I? I'm maunam, not opening my mouth. It's a very unfair thing, when we tell people that I'll tell you something, but you don't tell anyone. Why is it unfair? I have no capacity of keeping the secret, but I want you to keep the secret. And if you tell anyone, I will get very upset. But first I have told, no? Otherwise, how will you know? So it's a very unfair thing to tell people. I can't maintain self-control, but you maintain it. No. So what is the essence of a secret? Not opening your mouth. Just not opening your mouth. If you wish to keep something a secret, don't tell anybody. Don't tell people and say, you don't tell anybody, okay? It's not fair on them. Because you have just demonstrated that it was a secret that you couldn't keep. So if you want to keep a secret, what is the essence of a secret? Nobody's talking about it, including you. So amongst secrets, I am silence. Jnanam jnanavatamaham. I am knowledge amongst the knowers. I am knowledge of the self amongst the knowers. Because the closer you are to the self, the more real knowledge you have. Even in your personal subject, whether you're an architect or an engineer or a doctor, the closer you are to the self, the more your knowledge in your subject, the more clear a thinker you are, the more objective you are, the more you're capable of retaining knowledge, capable of not bringing yourself into the equation. So many things. So the closer you are to the self. So I am knowledge of the self amongst the knowers. Now, knowledge of the self amongst the knowers can give an even greater ramification. Because knowledge of the self is actually consciousness. So I am consciousness in all knowledge. Because if you're unconscious, any knowledge you have, if you are unconscious and ask you your name also, you won't be able to tell me, right? So any knowledge can function only if you're conscious. So that way also it works. It's a much broader definition. So there are many, many ways of keeping a secret. You take a vow, you keep guards, you do so many things. But the best way of keeping a silence is, what happened? सब सो रहे हैं क्या?
No, we're being silent.
Oh, it's a secret, no? Yeah, you're right, Bharat. This whole subject is a secret. The royal knowledge and a royal secret. So we're all keeping quiet. But please talk, because from me, don't keep it a secret. I would like to know it. So amongst secrets, I am
Silence.
balance. Amongst those desirous of victory, I am
Righteousness.
Niti.
correct behavior. Amongst rulers, I am
Scepter.
scepter. I am that power. Okay, so verse 38 clear. Shall we move on? Any questions on verse 38? Verse 39. Yachapi sarvabhutanam bijam tadaham arjuna na tadasti vinaya syat maya bhutam characharam yachapi sarvabhutanam bijam tadaham arjuna na tadasti vinaya syat maya bhutam characharam yacha api sarva bhutanam. I'm breaking it up for you in the hope that you pick up a little bit of Sanskrit. It'll be nice if everybody knew Sanskrit, right? It is when the university starts, everybody there is going to be speaking Sanskrit. Means not with you, but they would have reasonable speaking proficiency in Sanskrit. Yat cha api sarva bhutanam. Amongst all beings, that bijam, that seed, that aham Arjuna, that I am, O Arjuna. I am the seed, I am the bijam amongst all the beings. Na tadasti vina, na tatasti vina yat syat maya bhutam charachara. Chara achara. There cannot exist without me a being moving or unmoving. Reaching almost Upanishadic levels, right? Now he's done so much explanation in the last few verses that he has said, okay, now you get the point. What is the point he's trying to say? I am the seed of everything, be it moving or unmoving. Moving or unmoving, chara, achara, refers to objects and beings. I am the seed of everything. It's exactly like the wake mind saying, I am the seed of everything happening in the dream. Mr. Dada, could you switch off your video, please? I am that seed. I am that which makes everything possible. It is what the waker's mind would say about the dream. That it is because of me that whatever is happening in the dream is happening. It is like gold saying of ornaments that I am the seed. It is like the desert saying in the mirage that I am the seed. Whatever you're seeing over there, I am the seed. I am the source of everything. Nothing can exist without me. The rope is the seed of that illusory snake. That illusory snake cannot exist without the rope being there. In other words, unless a rope was there, how could you have seen a snake? Maybe if there's a rope lying there, somebody saw a snake, somebody saw a crack in the ground, somebody saw a twig, maybe a branch. But whatever you did see, that rope was its seed. Now, this kind of seed is very different from the normal kind of seed. The normal kind of seed is the seed goes and the plant comes. He's not referring to that kind of seed. He is referring to the seed as the rope and the snake. It's a very famous usage from Vedanta. It's called the Rajju Sarpavat Nyaya. Rajju, rope, Sarpavat is seen as a snake. One of the most famous examples of Vedanta. If you attend any Vedanta class anywhere, they will speak about it. Because it is meant to explain what is the relationship between world and God, or how does the world come from God. So he says, there is a rope. In the dark, you perceive it as a snake. Similarly, there is the divinity. In the darkness of ignorance, you perceive it to be the world. So whatever you're seeing in the world, know that I am its seed. But not a seed in the sense of a plant and tree kind of relationship. The relationship is like the desert and the mirage, like the rope and the snake. So no matter what mirage you see in the desert, without the desert, you wouldn't have seen it. So the desert is the seed of it, in that sense. So he says, yet whatever other, he's given you so many examples, right? So whatever else you may see, whether it is moving or unmoving, know that I am its seed. Know that I am the unmanifest behind these manifestations. Not, to repeat, not in the sense of
Seed and tree.
seed and tree. Not in the sense of
Cause and effect.
cause and effect. Not in that sense. Because in the sense of cause and effect, what happens when the cause manifests as the effect? The cause has changed or become the effect. In this case, it hasn't become. When the child, they say child is a cause of the man, right? The child grows up into a man. The same child becomes a man. The child, the cause, has become the man. It's not two different things. In our world, the cause becomes the effect. He's not talking about any change taking place in Brahman. Please be very clear on this. Brahman in no way changes. So Brahman doesn't become the world. Brahman is perceived as the world. Just as the rope doesn't become the snake. It's not a cause and effect relationship. There is no cause and effect relationship between the rope and the snake. The rope hasn't become the snake. And yet without the rope, there would be no snake. So it is the source, but not in the sense of a causal relationship. This rope has not changed into a snake. The rope continues to be a rope. It's not changed. Okay, so that excuse me, which is the seed of all beings. So Arjuna, know that to be me. Because so far he's been saying, no, I'm the best of this, I'm the best of this, I'm the best of this, I'm the best of this. He said, now how much can he go on listing it out, right? He can go on for the rest of his life. But have you got the point, Arjuna? I am the seed in all these things. There cannot exist anything without me, moving or unmoving. And if you read between the lines, you realize that this which I call me cannot exist without that I. For that I, the me which I truly am, is the source of this me which I believe I am. So who I really am, I perceive as this. Now the story from the Christian faith, where Saint Eliza was supposed to have traveled all the world in hunt of God. And then she came back home, and the Lord is supposed to have said in a quiet voice, a voice inside her spoke and said, I am here, Eliza. Everybody says the same thing. For those who have the eyes to see. Verse 39 clear? Any questions on verse 39? Verse 40. Anybody is new today in class? Nantosti mama divyana vibhutinam parantapa eshattu tveshata proktaha vibhutirvistaro maya nantosti mama divyanam vibhutinam parantapa eshattu Tudveshata proktaha vibhutirvistaro maya. Uddeshata proktaha. Briefly have I told you. Vibhutir maya. Of all the, by me, briefly has it been said, of all these vibhutis, of all these glories, of all these manifestations. It's given such a long list, no? When he's telling you briefly, just imagine, such a long list. We did so many verses of I'm this, I'm this, I'm this. Arey Baba, we got it. You feel like saying that. But this is just a brief list. Because imagine, every ant, every COVID virus, every leaf, every tree, every beetle, every dinosaur, tiger, camel, zebra, wildebeest, deer, and the antelope, and the tortoise, and the cheetah, every rich man and poor man, man and woman, good and bad, noble and ignoble, every single thing. The seas, the mountains, the water, a single drop of water, the laptop, the light, the watch, the fire, the lightning, the rain, every single thing is him and him alone. There is nothing else here. I see so much when there's only one thing. I see this wide diversity, this wondrous diversity, when there's only one thing. And if that one thing were to speak to me, how many things would it tell me? I am this, I am this, I am this. He has told us a few, so that at least in those things we remember that it is him. That's all you can do, right? How much can you go on listing it out? Na anta asti. There is no end. Mama Divyanam. There is no end to all my manifestation. Every single thing. How can he mention it? Oh Parantapa, oh scorcher of foes. This list is not exhaustive what he has given. You cannot imagine electricity telling us, I am the light, I am the fan, I'm the washing machine, I'm the heater, I'm the amplifier, I'm the... can't go on, no? Just understand every electrical gadget. So when it's come to listing out things, it becomes very difficult. But the point is very easy. Point is what? Everything is me. If you attended VFC, and I hope you have, and if you haven't, please do study the Vedanta Foundation course, because all the basic concepts are there. If you have already done it, then remember the first verse of the Isavasya Upanishad. Isha Vasya Midagum Sarvam Yat Kinchit Jagatyam Jagat. Isha is everything. The Lord is everything. Yat Kinchit Jagatyam Jagat. Whatever in this world, the moving or the unmoving. Same concept you have here. Everything here is me. And can you view the world with that appreciation of the divinity? How would you do that? Take a step back and see the wonder of creation. Every aspect, wonderful. How it rains, how it thunders, how the trees grow, how your nails grow, how your hair grows. How is it that you put one foot in front of the other and walk? It's a miracle. How do you open your eyes and see so much? It's a miracle. The whole thing is a miracle. When you start appreciating this vast wonder of nature, this vast wonder all around us, you begin to get that sense of something greater, something wider, something nobler than just the nitty-gritty of everyday life. So I said, this is only a brief statement of the extent of my manifestation. If you can see that divinity, if you can reach up to the wonder of this whole thing, you know what happens? The personal interest in it all gets scotched. You lose your personal interest because you've lost yourself in the wonder of it all. And that's what happened to Hanuman. You know the story, right? Hanuman, story is, Hanuman finds Sita. Sita represents the individual. And one day, Hanuman comes to her and drops that ring. Sometime in your spiritual journey, you come to a point where you have so much faith in it that it's a point of no return. And go back from there. And you now know somehow that you're on the right path. Until that time, you're doing it, but you're still wondering whether you're doing the right thing. But a certain point comes, it's the ring of confidence. A certain point comes where you know you're on the right path. When your mind expands to that, you know what Hanuman does after he drops Sita the ring of confidence? He scorches Sone ki Lanka, Golden Lanka. Golden Lanka is burnt. Burnt means, golden means very attractive. Burnt means no longer attractive. Can you imagine the most beautiful dress you have and it gets burnt? Is it going to be attractive? Seeds, if you roast them, they cannot give forth any more plants, right? So, Sone ki Lanka, all the attractions of the world are now scorched. They're burnt. They're gutted. No longer interested. When do you come to that? When your mind rises up to the wonder of it all. And when it rises up to the wonder of all these things, your personal interest in it is nothing. Think of it like this, that suppose you go to the Himalayas and you're standing there and seeing the vast majesty, the awful majesty of the Himalayas. Wonderstruck with the beauty of creation. Do you say, can I buy a plot of land here? Don't say that, right? You're too busy thinking of God. So wonderstruck. So as you see divinity, your personal interest in anything just reduces. You're no longer interested. It's not that you're not interested. It's like your mind doesn't go there at all. So does it mean you won't buy a plot of land? If it's needed, you'll buy it. But you're buying it because it's needed. You have no, what should I say? No personal interest in it. No excitement. Oh, wow, I'm going to get this. No personal interest. Just do what is needed because you're so inspired with something great. So, there is no end to my divine manifestations. All these manifestations, which are the kshara. Kshara means the changing, the impermanent, the beauty. Have you seen the sky at sunset? You see the colors change. It's all very beautiful, right? And it's all changing. It's a changing phenomenon. Sometimes it's orange, sometimes it's purple, sometimes different colors. The change is the beauty. You see the change. If you have no interest in it, then you can appreciate the beauty. But if you get a personal interest in it, the moment you say, I like purple, then you no longer see the beauty. Because all you can see now is the purple there or is the purple not there? When the purple is there, you're happy. When the purple is not there, you're unhappy. This is the story of our life. But if you can step back and see this whole phenomenon with the eye of divinity, the whole thing is so divine, so impressive, so glorious, that your personal interest in any of that changing phenomenon goes to nothingness. That is what he is trying to sort of bring us to that realization of it all. There is no end to my divine manifestation, Parantapa. This is only a brief statement by me of the extent of my manifestation. Imagine if you go to the Met in New York and you have only 1 or 2 hours, or you have only one day. What justice can you do to the Met? Now, in our life, we have hardly a few years. What justice can we do to seeing the manifestations of the Lord? The important thing is not about seeing the manifestations, but seeing the wonder in whatever manifestations we do see.
Janki ji, one question. So this ring of confidence or diminished personal interest is a direct consequence of actively pursuing the truth. Because if one may give a personal example, uh, there seems to be a diminished personal interest, but at the same time, one is not sure if one is that consciously pursuing the truth.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, all these things happen for different people. But when we say a diminished personal interest, how do I put this? Let us say that there are, all of us as human beings are like an iceberg. Okay? You know the nature of an iceberg. 10% is on top and 90% is below. So 10% is on top. So you and I and all of us know of our personalities only that top 10%. As you are, and that top 10% is exposed to the sun above, is exposed to the heat. So it can happen that 10%, the top portion starts dissolving. So the viewer sees that the top is dissolving, right? But it's only a very top layer which is dissolving. Slowly, as you go down and down and down, you see how much more there is to dissolve. So in the initial stages, if you are interested in eating, say, gulab jamun, then you have no personal interest in eating gulab jamun. But then, you become very interested, maybe from physical, you move to emotional, extreme interest in maybe family, or from emotional, you move to intellectual, and then extreme interest in your ideas. I mean, you can't tolerate anyone disagreeing with them, or you move to spiritual, where extreme interest in the superiority of your God or your notion of God. So basically, this diminishing of interest works in many different levels. When it comes to a certain critical mass, for lack of better word, you have reached the point of no return. You're not going back from there. So whether you are struggling to go forward or not is dependent upon whether you're willing to put your self-interest. Self-interest doesn't mean a selfish interest. This is what happens in the path later on. Self-interest no longer is a selfish interest because selfishness is reduced. But there can be, say, rigidity of ideas, for instance. So those kind of things are more difficult to spot. So when you got rid of the top bit of the iceberg, still a long way to go. So simultaneously, there's a reduction of personal interest. At that stage, we don't know whether this person, this individual, is struggling to reduce it further. Can't answer that question. And also the path unfolds so differently for different people. But there is a point from which there is no return. You have to come to that point, and then, whatever happens, you've lost the ability to return. You can't go back. So did that answer your question?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, so